Oh my goodness. This has been a horrible series against the Chicago Cubs. Cardinals have grabbed one game, but they're on pace for another, historically bad loss against the Cubs after getting, beaten by them on Friday. We're going to try and talk about this and figure out where to go from here on this episode of Deal on the Cards. Welcome back into Deal on the Cards with Josh, joined by Andrew as always. Sandy is still out right now, but he'll be back soon. He got married a few weekends ago, so congrats to the Sandman. Unfortunately, though, we're in the middle of a Cardinals Cubs game right now that is 11-0 in the middle of the 8th inning. Go Cubs on that side. I meant to say for the Cubs, not go Cubs. Yeah, this has been bad, Andrew. For a while now, we've seen that Mikolas and Fedde were slated to go in the series, and so I think we all kind of chalked up Friday and Sunday as losses. But even so, like, even knowing this was possible, it could be this bad, I don't think any of us thought it. I mean, not that we didn't think it would be this bad, but like, I think you hoped it'd be like 6-0, right? Like, not this bad. Fedde doesn't even get out of the second inning today. Mikolas gives up 6 home runs. 6 home runs to the Cubs. John King gives up 2 others. I don't know how many Fedde got tagged for today. Probably 5. I can't remember how many. He left the bases loaded.
It was only 3, but
3. You know, oh yeah, you're right.
Not good.
So yeah, not good. I mean, what are we supposed to say? Like, honestly, like, it's horrible. Like, this is inexcusable. And at this point, like, I still believe this team can win games, and it's literally in the playoff race right now. Like, going into today, they were tied for the 3rd wild card. So to say they can't, I think, is not fair. But I do think it's fair to say if you continue to run both Mikolas and Fedde in your rotation, that, yeah, you're not going to make it far because you basically have 2 auto L's in your rotation right now. And so you're like, hey, Gray and Liberatore and Plante, you can't screw this up. You got to be good every time you go out. And that's not fair and not realistic to ask. It's going to tax your bullpen when you're going to them in the 4th and the 2nd inning today. This is like 2023. Like, honestly, it's like 2023 when you had Wainwright and Dakota Hudson in there. Yeah, you have these blow-up starts where, like, a rotation can be okay if it's mediocre at times, or you have or one bad guy. You can't have 2 guys who can't get outs. Fedde didn't have a strikeout of his last, what I think I saw on Twitter, like last 36 batters. He hasn't struck someone out. We said this in the last episode. Erick Fedde can't strike people out. He walks everyone he faces, and when the ball is in the zone, they crush it. That's like, he literally doesn't do anything okay right now. And then Miles Mikolas is Miles Mikolas. And it sucks because it's like, for both of these guys, I actually want to I would make the argument that the reason we're so upset with them right now isn't like it's their fault they're not performing, but it's the Cardinals' fault for holding on too long. You have them extend Mikolas too early in 2022 when you didn't need to. I don't care that you only had 1 starter under contract. You could have figured it out in the offseason. They extended him, and ever since that extension, all 3 years, in 2023 they did that. In 2023, 2024, and 2025, he's been bad. And then Erick Fedde, you traded from the deadline. I still think it was a fine trade to make at the time. I'm not going to go back and say it wasn't, but you didn't trade him in the offseason, which was a dumb move. And how you held on to both of them because you claimed you needed this depth, and we can deconstruct that all we want because I think it's an argument you could poke a lot of holes in. And now they're hurting themselves. They're keeping a young guy from opportunity, and they're making their chances of winning worse every day. These 2 in their rotation. Andrew, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, Miles Mikolas going out there, I mean, it was a disaster waiting to happen. As soon as who hit the first home run? Was it Suzuki or Tucker?
I think it's Suzuki. I don't think Tucker hit a home run that
or
game.
Was it it might have actually been. No,
I'll go back.
I don't know. After the first home run and then the second home run, I was like, okay, well, we've just lost this game. Like, it's not going to happen today.
Woo, Sarah, member for 7 months. That's awesome. Sorry.
Yes, thanks, Sarah. And like, but the issue is you can't dump both Mikolas and Fedde right now. And you have to decide which of the 2 you're going to dump.
You're right. You can't do both right now. You got to do one.
Because if you dump both of them, you don't have another starter. You just like, I don't know what you're meant to do, right? Like it's so frustrating because we can have the debate of which one is worse. Josh had a nice analogy
Andrew
before
asked
this
me before
stream.
the stream which one's worse, and I started debating it, and then I said it really doesn't matter because it's asking which poop smells worse. Like, at the end of the day, they both smell terrible, and neither's good. So who cares?
Yeah, but the issue is you don't have enough AAA depth to get rid of both of them.
It's true.
Unless you like bring up Quinn and McGreevy at the same time. But Quinn, I think he needs some more seasoning down in AAA. It hasn't looked
Agreed.
amazing. McGreevy, I think he's major league ready, right? His numbers on the season don't look fantastic at the major league level, but he's also faced the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Cubs, which are, I believe, still the three teams in first place. The Phillies might be in first place. I don't know. But like, he's faced really tough competition. And like, when he pitched against the White Sox, it was great. So like it's really frustrating because you don't have really room for an injury. I don't think Matthews is a guy you're comfortable bringing up right now. But also, what do you do with Erick Fedde? This is a guy that had trade value at the start of the season, during the offseason, during spring training, and we were on here talking about this for months. This is not something new.
In response, I think this is funny for audio listeners. M. Gill Design put in here because we're talking about how Quinn Matthews isn't ready, which is probably fair, but he makes the point Mikolas isn't ready either. So
it's true. It's true. Okay. I mean, I understand.
And I agree with you. I just think it's funny.
I understand why people want to get rid of Mikolas because it's just been so bad for so long. But Erick Fedde has, by all metrics other than ERA, been a lot worse than Miles Mikolas this year. His xERA has been worse. He walks everyone. I believe he has the worst K to walk ratio in the entire league. He has one of the lowest strikeout rates among qualified starters, one of the highest walk rates among qualified starters.
Yep.
He's just not a viable MLB starter anymore. And I don't know what you do with that. Like, he's not going to bounce back enough in the next, I don't know, what is it, 2 or 3 starts until the trade deadline at this point, where you might have to convince another team to take on money to even get rid of Erick Fedde when we thought this was a bargain of a deal at the start of the season. And now $7.5 million for an absolute liability in your rotation who doesn't induce any strikeouts, no whiffs. I don't understand what you do with that. And honestly, that's a guy that you DFA. There's not really much you can do with Erick Fedde because he's just not a like Mikolas isn't playable really either. He's like not great. He had a horrible, historically bad start against Chicago on Friday. Another bad start against Cleveland. But at least like in the times, like he's given you fake good outings, but I think he's also given you a couple of real good outings this season too. He's been inducing a lot more swing and miss lately. Has some strikeout stuff. I mean, you just have to figure out which of the two guys you would rather have on your team because you can't keep going with both of them. And you also can't keep going with neither of them because then you have to pray that you don't suffer an injury in your rotation in July because say you do bring up Matthews and you bring up McGreevy. If someone goes down, who do you have to start in place? Do you go and sign Kyle Gibson, who was absolutely horrible with the Orioles to start the season? Like, that's maybe your best bet, right? I don't know what you're supposed to do in that situation. And it makes it really difficult because they just haven't set them up. They haven't set themselves up for success.
Yeah.
They could have traded Fedde for, some depth arms, which honestly, you're not going to get that at this point. If you got a Matt Swanson back, that's a huge win at this point.
Oh, for sure.
For Erick Fedde.
Yeah.
And, I said fringe top 25 prospect on January 1st, and you guys laughed me out of the room. And now
you're right.
If we got a fringe top 25 prospect, honestly, that's like Christmas came early, I guess. I don't know. So you can use that Fedde salary to go and add in other places too.
Yeah. let's talk it through a little bit, because I think you bring up some, like, you're right. Today, July 6th, you can't get rid of both of them and field a rotation unless you're gonna bring up Drew Rom, which honestly, good, or your Rush Quinn Matthews or Takeo Roby, guys like that, which you don't want to do that to them, right? But let's be fair. And I know you were saying this, but let's make sure we say it, because it could sound like we're defending the fact they're holding both of them right now. They put themselves in this position, and they can tell you all they want that they didn't, but they did, because we talked about this before, like with Erick Fedde, even if, which I think you could have put Michael McGreevy in the rotation, because you made a really good point recently. I think it was on last week's episode that the profile pitchers that are in this Cardinals rotation are guys that should remain a little bit healthier. Like, they're not the max effort, weird throwing elbow guys that are going to then get injured a lot, which also I need to thank a couple people on here, audio listeners. If you're listening on here on YouTube, $5 donation from Snipes. Will we ever have something to look forward to? I feel like there's nothing that's gone right for this franchise in 2014. We'll talk more about that soon. And then also I saw Sarah gifted a sub earlier, which I don't actually know how that works on YouTube. Someone have to explain that to me. I've heard of it before, but I don't know what it means. So thank you for doing that, though. Snipes, we'll get to that question here soon. But so even if they didn't want to put McGreevy in the rotation because they needed depth, okay, well, guess what? We've talked about, they could have gone for Kyle Gibson, which I know he was bad this year, but he also was signed at the very end of spring training. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying, like, you can talk me into it. Looks different, even if it's the same as Fedde. At least you got something for Fedde then, right? Like, and then Kyle Gibson's the one being bad in the rotation, not Erick Fedde. Or you could have signed Jose Quintana, or like I'm looking on the free agent market right now, and there are guys that did not go get signed this offseason, which signing them today is not going to do anything for you. Like, these guys haven't pitched, they're going to have to work their way up. But like Jordan Lyles, Spencer Turnbull, Alex Wood, you could do the Dallas Keuchel thing that everyone thought would somehow happen at some point. Like, these guys right now aren't going to be worse than what you're getting from Mikolas and Fedde, because they have been that bad. But beside the point, to your you can't get rid of both of them today. So who do you get rid of? It's twofold, right? I think to your point, Mikolas has been the better of the two. Oddly enough, as of late, but also kind of this year, he does have a little bit of swing and miss, and he's not walking the world like Fedde is. So, to your point, it kind of does make sense that if you're going to have to get rid of them, one of them tomorrow, it's Erick Fedde. But on the flip side, to your point earlier, and to what we talked about, like, Erick Fedde did hold trade value at one point in a way that A, Miles Mikolas doesn't, and B, Miles Mikolas has a no trade clause and is unwilling to waive it. So you can't trade Miles Mikolas. So the Cardinals are in this.
I mean, I wasn't saying that I mean,
Oh, no, I know you weren't saying that.
Mikolas, or you do something with Fedde, which is probably not trade him at this point, because
well, that's what I'm saying. So they're stuck in a pinch right now that they put themselves in, that they either have to see what Fedde does next outing, hoping it's better, so that they somehow can build his trade value between now and July and trade him at the deadline, or you cut him and you get nothing. And both sound awful, because I don't think he's going to be better. And so you might put yourself even further out in this race where every game matters. It's a tight race in the National League right now. You can't afford to willingly throw games away. But that's what it feels like right now when you put Erick Fedde on the mound. And so do you potentially willingly throw another game away in the hopes that you can move him later this month? Because if you saw Gentleman Zalek's comments to Katie Wu today, or it was yesterday, he made it sound like McGreevy's in this rotation by August. He said that there will be opportunities this month, and worst case scenario, he will be on the roster. Like, he'll have consistent opportunities in August. That tells me that they're hoping to either trade one of the starters, or at that point they will release one of them. But
yeah, I mean, one of Fedde or Mikolas has to be gone by the end of the month. Like, that's
which I think is true. But I guess for the Fedde part, which I'm curious your thought. Like, do you pull the plug right now and say it's so bad that you want to save the potential of winning the season to get McGreevy in there, and you pull the plug on Fedde? Or do you get rid of, or you give him a couple more starts, hoping he turns it around so that you can trade him? Which, honestly, this point you're probably not getting much anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. Like, I'm just so frustrated that they held on to this guy. I don't understand what the rationale was, because there were so many things you could have done that were not hold on to him, that now that we're at this point, it doesn't make any sense. But I think what you have to do is I don't think both Mikolas and Fedde can be in the rotation by the end of the week at this point.
I 100% agree with you.
There needs to be a move made like now, because you've just lost 4 out of 5 games, and you'll be really lucky if you still hold your playoff spot by the end of the week, right? Like, you're facing Washington. It's not a tough opponent, but they did just fire everyone, so that might fire their team up. Seems to happen. Which is great. And then Atlanta, who are pretty much out of the race at this point, but they're still Atlanta. They have a lot of talent. But you go into this series, you have McGreevy's going to get a start. He has to. And then I don't know what you do, right? Like, do you skip Fedde's next start? Do you skip Mikolas's next start and go into the All-Star break? Because you do have 6 games without a day of rest, where I don't think – yeah, and Mikolas, as the comments are saying, Mikolas is probably out of a job next year. So is Fedde probably. They both probably have to go back to Asia if they want like a real chance to pitch.
Which, speaking of, I just saw a tweet. It was really good. Suggestion for Chaim Bloom and future St. Louis Brass: when a pitcher has found himself, quote unquote, by spending a season or 2 in Asia, consider what sent them there.
Yeah, I mean,
which, okay, actually, I want to go back to this earlier. But like, if Fedde had been traded after the season, I don't think many of us actually look. I mean, like, we've been like, remember when they traded Tommy Edman and had to trade that guy right away? But it would have made sense because they told us, hey, we're scaling back, we're focusing on the future, we're shutting payroll. That meant you trade Erick Fedde. And with Miles Mikolas, let's not forget, I think he was a 2-time All-Star at the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean,
like, and I'm not saying you're bad, but like, it's like these last 3 years, it's like when Matt Carpenter's final extension, it made fans like hate Matt Carpenter when he should be one of the most beloved Cardinals we've ever had. Miles Mikolas doesn't fit that tier, but he should have been one of those guys. You're like, man, remember when they got Miles Mikolas from Asia and he had 1 bad year and he had 1 hurt year, but he had 2 All-Star years. And like, we should be able to talk about him in a positive way from his Cardinal career, but they kept the experience going far too long. And they keep doing this with stuff where it's like, you're selling us on this, that it's going to continue to work. And you don't want to do the hard work of figuring out a different solution. You just go with the local guys. You go with the guys who want to be here because it's easier that way. And it keeps not working. Sorry, I just had to inject that.
Oh, you're good. TikTok content right there. For the viewers, but I just don't know what to say, because I went into the series and I was like, okay, Mikolas and Fedde are both pitching against the Cubs. If Matthew Liberatore doesn't shove or we have a miraculous comeback like we did yesterday with Pozo, who, by the way, my favorite, should be the starting catcher, but that is a discussion for another time. I was like, if that doesn't happen and the Cubs sweep the Cardinals and we rolled over the Pirates, who, by the way, didn't score a single run this week against the Mariners, and, guess what? The Pirates aren't actually amazing. They just had a hot run against the Mets, who have been awful, and the Cardinals, who have been awful. That, doesn't excuse getting swept by the Pirates. Okay, like, we're still on that as well. And you've just been playing a brand of baseball that has not been good at all, where you have 2 starters that are complete liabilities, 2 starters that can't get the job done. Like, if we had lost that game on Saturday, I was willing to call the season dead right there. Been like, okay, time to sell at the deadline, and like, that's what we thought was going to happen coming into this season. But like, right now, Mo still makes it seem like in every interview that this team can contend. And I believe this team can contend if you have a competent rotation. Like, Gray has been really good. Liberatore has been solid, aside from that one, like, 2 to 3 start stretch where it was really bad and it looked like it was coming off the rails. He seems to have put it back together. Palante is starting to find himself again. You just have these 2 guys that genuinely can't really do much of anything. And that's the main discussion right now. And if you go into this week against the Nationals and the Braves and you start Fedde and Mikolas, which I believe, no, okay, neither of them will start twice, but
yeah, they each should get 1 more start from here.
That's like a 4-2 at best. And that's assuming Gray, Palante, and Liberatore all are amazing.
Yeah.
and there's as much as possible. But like, yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about trading Fedde.
Yeah. If you're just now joining the stream, if you go back to the beginning, we did start talking about their options. And so I just suggest just going back to that or coming back to it in a little bit. But let's thank a couple of sponsors of the podcast real quick. And I want to talk through, there's maybe a scenario they could finesse this a little bit to try and buy themselves some time with Fedde by utilizing the IL here, but it's a really thin margin. But we'll see what happens. So, as always, we want to thank the presenting sponsor of the Deal and Cards podcast. That's 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet. Open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards and the new selections of packs, boxes, and single cards of local players and stars around the league. You can get cool cards like that Mason Wynn signed two-way card from Team USA. There's so much cool stuff at 314. We love them so much. Go make sure you support them.
What if the answer to the rotation problem
Mason Wynn
was on the was on the roster the whole time?
That would be a very Cardinals thing for them to come out and say our shortstop's now going to be in the rotation. But anyways, so we love 314. We also want to tell you about other sponsor, and that's Underdog Sports. The Deal on the Cards podcast is proud to be partnered with Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. You're now eligible to play in Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and 37 other U.S. states. You got to check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. You just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can win 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. If that sounds like fun, sign up with our promo code CARDS to claim your first free pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries. Make sure you use that promo code CARDS on the screen and you get a first free pick'em plus a first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So let's continue the conversation going. I think you made a good point that I think we need to acknowledge of like, hey, if you have competent starting pitching or even mediocre starting pitching over Mikolas and Fedde, you can win ball games. Like you actually can, but it destroys the rotation to have. I mean, it's really bad for rotation to have one. It destroys it to have two, a la 2023. When they had a top 7 offense, like this year, they don't have a top 7 offense, but in 2023, they had a top 7 offense through July 31st, which is most of the season. And they were still way out of it because the bullpen was pretty bad, but the rotation was just unplayable. You can't do that. So your point, like if you slide McGreevy in there, and then if they're willing to go out and go and trade for another starter, like even do the Jose Quintana type trade, where when they acquired Jose Quintana for the Pirates in 2022, most people weren't like, man, that dude's gonna have a sub 3 ERA down the stretch, right? Like even if you get what you thought you would have got in Quintana, which is like a true 4 ERA guy, not what they're doing right now, blowing up, you can survive and you could potentially make the playoffs. Again, I don't think either of us think this is a playoff team, but we think they can compete for it, and you're not giving them a chance when you have these 2 starters in. I do wonder, I was just kind of looking at the schedule, with how bad Fedde has been last few times, they might be able to try and sell it as he's got something going on. And this is me trying to figure out how they can salvage any trade value from him. I wonder if you could throw him on the 15-day today or tomorrow, and he would be back in time, I think, to pitch the Arizona series out of the break at the end of it, maybe the early Colorado series. At that point, he would get at least 2 starts, maybe 3 starts before the deadline. I think just 2, though. Now, is that ideal? No, but if they're trying to cultivate, or if they're trying to get any trade value out of him, could you do it? Maybe. Or maybe he makes rehab assignment starts, and then you trade him when he comes back because teams have been able to get their eyes on him, and maybe he looks a little bit better with a quick reset. And it's like, obviously they're not going to look at the AA numbers and be like, oh, he dominated AA lineup, but like they can watch how he's pitching and be like, oh, he looks like he's got the feel back a little bit. We can use him a 5th starter. That's the only that's the only thing you do other than DFA him, I think.
The issue with Fedde is that he just like the numbers were fine for the majority of the season before these last 3 starts, but the eye test and he has the feel for it sort of thing has never really been there all year, right? Like he's been walking
for sure
since day 1, and even in starts where like what did he throw, like 5-6 shutout innings against the Dodgers that one time, he was walking everybody. There were like 2 runners on every single inning, and like they were so lucky not to have lost that game like 8-2. All right, like that's the kind of start that you're going to get out of Erick Fedde. It's like a Dakota Hudson start from like 2022 or 2023. Like he's going to go out there, he's going to walk 4 guys, and he's going to only give up like a run or two because he gets extremely lucky. And
Yeah.
that's the ceiling of it. I really don't think that there's really much you can say about it. This is you look at Erick Fedde's baseball reference page, the season he's having right now compares to a lot of the seasons that he was having in Washington. Like the walk rate is similar. The strikeout rate is even worse than it was before. So I don't know what happened there. Zach Plesac, I'm seeing in the chat, has just been awful at AAA. I mean, I don't think that solves your issues either. Right now, I think your only options are Quinn and McGreevy. And after that, like you still need depth, right? I think Quinn is a guy you call upon as like a September call up just in case, or just like if you're in the race. I don't think he's a guy you rush like that.
Yeah, and even September, right? Like you would be saying this, like you September call up if he's ready, right? It's Roby. It's like if they look at Roby and Quinn, they're like these guys are bigly.
Well, Roby's had struggles in AAA too, like.
But he's also improved some since then too. Like there was the adjustment to the ball. Again, I'm not advocating for Roby right now. I'm just saying for these top pitching prospects, like I am fine with them not calling those guys up. But I do think like could you do the Drew? I mean, I guess here's what I'm saying. Like at this point, I think we're under the assumption that Mikolas and Fedde are bad, and it's not going to get any better. And so throwing Drew Rom out there isn't going to be any worse, right? Or like throwing Zach Plesac out there. Like I don't think it'll be worse than what you're getting right now.
I mean, it might be. I don't know.
But like this is already an auto loss. So if it's worse, it's like you already were losing. Like today, I mean, I know Fedde hasn't been this bad every time. Actually, has been. He has been.
He is walking this many guys. I cannot believe Underdog sets the line at 1.5 every single time because that's just free money. Go use our code.
Go use our code. Well, they might have missed out on it, but here, like, so I heard someone say or saw in the chat, like some people are like, what are some names out there? The Cardinals are obviously not doing Sandy Alcantara. They're not doing name whatever big starter right now that potentially could be available at the deadline. But could they, which it doesn't seem like they're interested in buying a starter right now, but could they, if they have to replace both Mikolas and Fedde, or if they want to convince themselves that they still need McGreevy as depth, and so they can't get rid of either or both of those guys and or one of those guys use McGreevy, could they go out and get Merrill Kelly? Could they get Seth Lugo? Could they get Zach Little? Tyler Malley?
Do you want to take a guess where Merrill Kelly played before he played for the
KBO? I know, but he has been good. So like it's like he's on an expiring contract. And again, these are not inspiring names. I'm not trying to tell you that. But the kinds of targets they'll have to look at in their eyes, and I think it's actually fair because I don't think this Cardinal team should be selling the farm for a starter at this deadline. But it's who's a guy that is getting success in a way that's very Cardinals, like ground balls, soft contact, not a lot of strikeouts. So not a lot of teams are going to pay a lot for him. And they're in the last year of their contract. So it's also not control you're paying for either. Because like with Fedde, you were paying for control a year and a half, right? Lugo does have a contract next year, I think, but it's a decent, he said a decent like 15 million or something like that. So for the Royals, they're moving off money in that. But like with Merrill Kelly, Zach Little, Tyler Malley, Adrian Hauser, like those guys are not under contract after this year. It's like the equivalent. Well, Merrill Kelly's more in like the Jordan Montgomery range of quality from when they acquired him at that 2022 deadline, not how they traded him away at 2023. But like Luke or Little, Malley, Hauser, that's kind of like going to get Jose Quintana from the Pirates. Could they do something like that and insert McGreevy in the rotation? And so now your rotation looks like Sonny Gray, Matthew Liberatore, a starter you acquired, Michael McGreevy, and Andre Palante. Like that can be competent down the stretch and actually keep you in contention. But at that point, you still don't have the depth. So like they are playing fire a little bit, but you're already playing with like a forest fire with Miles Mikolas and Erick Fedde in rotation. So like that's where I don't mind going without the depth at this point, because you're saying like, hey, we don't have depth behind it, but it's like what you're rolling out there every day right now is unplayable. So why does it matter? But that also leaves that doesn't even talk about if they want to go acquire that bat they've talked about. But I'd argue at this point, I'm much more concerned about the two black holes in your rotation than hitting left-handed pitching. At least to me, because you get Ivan Herrera back.
I wish that they didn't trade someone who was elite at hitting left-handed pitching for Erick Fedde. But in hindsight, I don't know. That trade was fine in the moment.
The tough part about that too is like, yeah, he would be helpful about hitting left-handed pitching this year, which is obviously true. But where was he going to play to start the year? Like if people are okay with Victor Scott being in AAA, then he could have been the center fielder, and then sure, then that solves the conversation.
I don't know.
But
Whatever.
obviously, like
That
with
trade
Tyler
is like, you
Higgs,
can't talk about that trade without people getting upset in a certain way, because like I do agree, in fairness, the mistake was not trading Tommy Edman for Erick Fedde. The mistake was not trading Erick Fedde, and we've talked about that 1,000
yep,
times, and we'll probably continue to talk about that as long as Erick Fedde's on the roster, and probably even further past that, because I just don't know what you do.
yeah,
Are teams calling on Erick Fedde right now?
no, there's no way, no way.
Will teams call on Erick Fedde at the deadline? Probably not.
I think maybe if he rebounds in the last 3 starts, but again, like to your point, like it's not. I mean, I don't even think it's a top 25 prospect in their system, and so at that point, is it even worth holding on to at this point? Like, if you're in the boardroom today, and it's Mo, it's Bloom, it's all these guys, and they're figuring out what do you do, and you have to write down what is best case scenario with Fedde right now. And I don't even know if there's a best case scenario where he does anything worth anything for you in a value in a trade. And that's the reason why I was so frustrated when we've talked about this in the offseason, where it's like if they sat down and drew on a whiteboard and said, what's the best case scenario with Erick Fedde this year? It would have been repeating what he did last year, which was already kind of like finicky, right? And so, like, even if they believed, hey, we'd probably have to sell him at the deadline, like that starter with 10 starts down the stretch wasn't going to get you anything. And so that's where I never got the idea that, like, with Ryan Helsley, which is another guy people have said they should have traded, which is fair if you thought that, but I don't think they should have. Sorry, take that back. I don't think it was a travesty they didn't trade him, because you could convince me, if you're the Cardinals and you're sitting in the boardroom and you're like, hey, if Ryan Helsley is Ryan Helsley like he's been every year and he's dominant out of the bullpen and we need to sell at the deadline, that guy's going to be worth a ton at the deadline. So I could see the rationale of holding him. On the Fedde side, what was he going to get you at the deadline that you couldn't get in the offseason? And like, what was the likelihood he was going to make it to the deadline and be good enough to get you something good? I thought it was so small that it made no sense to hold him. So, anyways, sorry, we don't need to rehash this for the millionth time, but it feels like we need to, because this is what we're doing. And so, you DFA. I honestly, I think the move, you probably have to just DFA Fedde, and you hold on to Mikolas because you can't trade him. I don't know. Anyways, there's a lot of people in the chat right now. Appreciate the support. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. We got a draft stream coming up. We're not ending the episode, but just a reminder. We'll have a draft live stream with Kareem and some other draft and prospect analysts to cover the draft, which there's multiple rounds this year on day one. So it's not just the first round pick. We'll get to go through the comp picks and the second round pick as well. So that'll be fun. Appreciate everything that's been on in the chat. Andrew, if you see any comments in there we want to hit on, let's go for it. But
yeah. I mean, I'm looking at our own the Cardinals system right now and like trying to comp out like what could the Cardinals reasonably get for Erick Fedde, and what I'm coming to is like, I don't know, like an Ian Bedell like as the ceiling, and it's like, is that are you really going to hold on to Erick Fedde for a couple more starts to get another Ian Bedell? Probably not. Like, is that really something that you're willing? Like, if Mo is set on, we're going to try to give this young core a chance to compete for a playoff spot, which honestly, I think they've earned that, right? Like, I think they've done enough this season where if ownership is willing to buy in and you're not going to like trade JJ or Quinn or like some of these top prospects that we're talking about, if you're not going to blow up your farm system for it, go out and make a couple moves, see what this young team can do in a August, September run. And if they get to the playoffs, that'd be great to get them some exposure to that. I just like, I'm fully on board with that. I just don't want to, like, one, Erick Fedde's not part of this young core, so I don't care whether or not we see him start. But like, if you're gonna get back an Ian Bedell at the trade deadline or somebody like that, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say Nathan Church because like he's also down here in the rankings, and like that's a guy people want to see in the outfield, but whatever.
There's a couple of questions in the chat because I think we've established this point, like Fedde's got no value, and so whatever. But here, I'm gonna throw these up just so you guys know what kind of topics are coming. It's if you asked it, you know. Snipes just did another chat, so he said can't wait to draft someone who have a 5.35 ERA in AA in 2031. So we'll talk about draft briefly for a second. Alex asked if we're concerned about the offense at all, which I think is a fair question. And then Bill, let's talk to this one first. So he said Arenado being hurt. Does that May trade for Dodgers I guess let's talk about maybe if Arenado could be a fit for the Dodgers because of the Muncy thing. So here's what I want to start with though. A lot of comments in the chat right now about sell, which I get. But here's what I'll say is what do you sell? Because Fedde's not worth anything. Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras have no trade clauses, so they're not going anywhere. Miles Mikolas obviously isn't getting traded. Do you? I think, and Ryan Helsley hasn't been good, but I guess he'll get you something. But it's
Helsley, Matz, Maton.
So that's the tough part though. Is if you trade Matz, Helsley, Maton, you are throwing the towel in the season.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I'm not saying you're wrong to think that. I'm just saying is that what we're saying? Is that they should throw in the towel in the season?
I mean, I think
because at that point you're
the reason it's such a hard question is because it may just come out down to the deadline. Because if they keep hovering around, oh, we have a playoff spot, oh, we don't have a playoff spot, then they can't really do that. That's not really something that this team should do.
Yeah. Also, real quick, we didn't say Helsley's an elite closer, and we didn't say you're getting anything for Fedde. We said you thought going into the year he was going to be an elite closer, and he could get you something, but he hasn't been. So,
yeah, I mean, Arenado's another trade piece. Like the Yankees need anything right now. They're really going through it.
But the tough part too with him is he has to approve the trade.
Well, he'll approve a trade to the Yankees.
I mean, maybe.
DJ.
I mean, I think, but also it's mid-season. Like, does he might not want to move his family right now?
Yeah,
he's been weird about it, and I don't blame. Also, you can be frustrated about it, and I'm not saying you. I'm saying in general, but we're also talking about guys and their livelihoods and jobs. And if you had the ability to veto being traded to a different city in your job, you would probably do it if you didn't want to go. And so it's his right. Yeah. But it's frustrating and finicky.
Why are we giving guys like Miles Mikolas no trade clause? What are we doing? I genuinely don't understand why you would give a guy on a 3-year deal and no trade clause like that.
Exactly.
Mikolas wanted to be here. He wasn't. This strikes me as the Rockies added an opt-out to Arenado's contract because they thought it was a good idea and they wanted to do right by him. And it's why would you do that? That's not smart.
Yeah. And then also, too, with Mikolas, when they extended him in the 2023, before the 2023 season, he had that full year under contract already. And then you gave him 2 additional years. So to your point, you're basically signing him for 3 more years of him. When any competent organization should have waited till the offseason and seen what he done in 2023, because 2022 he was an all-star and was good. But it's like Fedde, where it's is it going to continue? And he got paid almost $20 million. What was he going to get on the open market if he had a good year? Not much more than that. So you basically paid him market value, not knowing how he was going to pitch that year, and you give him no trade clause and all that. They didn't give him it. He would have hit free agency, and even if they brought him back in 2024, it was probably gonna be a 1-year deal, and you weren't stuck with him in 2025. They've created these issues for themselves. And then also too, someone might say, which I haven't seen in the chat, but I've heard some people say, "Well, do you trade Lars Nootbaar? Why would you trade him right now? He's at his lowest value."
Is he?
That doesn't. Oh, he is barely a league average hitter right now. And for his career going into the year, he was 17% above league average. I don't think a team's coming in there and giving you a super strong offer for him. I think they want him. I'm not saying teams don't want him. I'm just saying I think you would want to hold him through the rest of this year and see if he's better in the offseason. If he's not, then you make that move. Or either way, you make that move in the offseason. Nootbaar seems like the guy you could deal now. Maybe you could trade Alec Burleson and try and sell high, but that's also if you believe that he shouldn't be on a part of this core going forward. I'm not saying you should believe that. That's where this is probably the worst case scenario deadline, because you're in it. And so you if it would be bad to take from the roster, but also you don't really have anything of value to get anyways. So it's if you don't trade anyone, you're a loser. And if you trade people, you're a loser because you're falling out of the race and you're not getting anything. It's bad.
I also just don't know what you're going to get for you're not going to have a 2023 type deadline where you get Roby and Sajasi and who else did they get? Some high upside names that still continue to talk about. I don't think you're going to get anybody in the top.
No, you're not, because Jordan Montgomery was maybe the best. Well, besides Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, but the Astros and Rangers ate a ton of money in those deals, and they were old. Jordan Montgomery is the best starter move that deadline. The Cardinals don't have an asset like that. They lucked out in the 2023 deadline where they had, you argue they should have gotten more for Hicks, but they got a crap ton for Jordan Montgomery because the Rangers want to go win a World Series, and Montgomery was the guy to get that deadline. And you don't have something like that this year. I think that's what they're hoping Helsley could have been this year, but he hasn't been good enough.
Yeah.
So do you have concerns about the offense, though?
A little bit. I mean, the injuries are still starting to be annoying, but once you get through the stretch, I feel like the offense can survive through the stretch. I don't think Fedde and Mikolas can survive through the stretch. I'm way less worried about the offense than I am about Fedde and Mikolas. Once you get through the All-Star break, presumably you have Arenado healthier, Newbar healthier, Herrera should be back by then. Walker should be back by then, I guess. I don't think that really does anything for you. And then your lineup is at full strength. And when it was at full strength early in the season, it was doing its job. Would I prefer if you had like a right-handed guy off the bench to go to? Yeah, but I don't know right now. Like, what do you add to this lineup? Like, there's guys that I feel like would help. And then there's guys like Luis Robert where it's like, yeah, maybe he's good, but maybe he's also just terrible like he's been for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And like, what do you do with that? Why would you have a guy like that on your roster? Like, there's a couple guys. I think Ozuna is the one that comes to mind for me.
How about Harrison Bader?
No. Why would you?
I mean, he could be the platoon guy with Victor Scott in center, but Harrison Bader this year hasn't been good against left-handed pitching, which is weird. Usually he's been good, but
yeah. I mean, I don't know, like things like that.
Put Pozo in center.
Yeah, sure, go for it, man.
Imagine him out there trying to make a diving grab.
Like the Angels won, knowing the Angels organization, having kind of dabbled in Angels baseball. They're 4.5 games out of the wild card right now. If they sold at this deadline, I would be kind of surprised, honestly, because the AL is so weak, and they've been honestly, I could see the Angels as buyers at this deadline, which is really funny.
Who says no? Luis Robert for Jordan Walker.
I don't know. Like, that's just a horrible trade to think about.
So the interesting thing about Jordan, or first of all, with Luis Robert, is Jeff Jones threw his name out there in a piece, which he was not saying the Cardinals are calling on him or that they're going to get him or anything. He just gave 2 names. And Jeff Jones is giving 2 names. He's not just like pulling out of thin air and be like, oh, that'd be interesting. He's like, it's got to have something to it. He threw out Jeff Jones and he threw out Adolis Garcia and Taylor Ward. There's a couple things about Luis Robert, which is kind of interesting. One, he's got 2 club options the next 2 years. So if it does go poorly, and they're both at $20 million, which is a lot.
If the Cardinals bring back Adolis Garcia, then we should just sell at this point.
It would be kind of funny.
I don't want to see that.
I'd be fine. It'd be really funny. It'd be really funny. Mo's last year reacquires Adolis Garcia.
He's gonna.
Who's been worse than Lars Newbar?
What would happen? Yeah, he's just
not this year, but I'm saying
what would happen if Adolis Garcia like remember when he tripped around third?
That was
like, what if he like drops the ball in the last game of the season and the Cardinals missed the playoffs?
Adolis Garcia is not that bad. He's a good player.
Is he a good defender? I don't think he is.
Anyway. He's a fine defender. Anyways, but like, so Luis Robert though, he is a guy the Cardinals could have signed and decided not to. They were kind of, I can't remember the whole context around it, but basically they had him, they could have had him, but they decided not to give him the money the White Sox did. The White Sox got him, which is just terrible because Luis Robert, again, he's been bad recent years, but like that would have been a really good international signing. So there is history there. And 2, like you are buying low probably. Like, I don't know how the White Sox get anything. But my question is, I feel like there's another contender out there who's going to pay more. So that's where I don't think this is realistic. But I do think he fits in the sense that like, if it works, you can pick up a club option and give it another year and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, you can just decline the club options, let him hit free agency, and you're done with it. Taylor Ward, I think, has 1 year of control after this year, maybe. Might be a pending free agent.
You're not getting Taylor Ward. Also, the Angels
the Angels are in it.
Hard enough to trade him. They're going to keep everyone. They're going to go all in. It's going to be really funny. That's what they do every year.
But I do think Robert's interesting, and it makes more sense because of how bad he's been, and the White Sox probably just want to move that. Or, I mean, I don't hate the Harrison Bader one because it's an option. And with Harrison Bader, like with Luis Robert, if you acquire him, you're playing him. And so at that point, you are taking away opportunities for young players. if you acquire Harrison Bader, you're not going to feel bad if he's on the bench, right? So like that's, and he plays center field, so like that gets the Garrett Hampson out of the lineup stuff. But I think the biggest thing right now is and you've talked about already, they just need Ivan Herrera back. Like that's the biggest thing they need. You also need I think they need this All-Star break bad, man. Like they need the rest.
Getting Ivan Herrera back is just like making a trade.
You're not wrong. It really is. Classic Mo quote. So there is that side of it, but then the other side too is, again, do you block the young players or not? Do you want to give up assets like for Luis Robert? Do you want to give up like Jordan? Do you want to give up on Jordan Walker to get you to make that happen? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll have our deadline episodes sooner rather than later.
Maybe do that soon.
Yeah, we have something in the chat where it's like, why are we scapegoating Fedde and Mikolas instead of blaming the offense when they keep getting shut out? It's like, well, when you're down, what is it, 7-0 in the third inning? Like, yeah. You're not coming back from that. It's not happening.
I mean, we saw in 2023.
Do I care if the offense scores 6 runs or 0 runs when the other team scored 11? Like, no.
Yeah. I mean, it demoralizes them, right?
Like, what do you want?
And they're human.
Yeah, it's like I don't think it matters. They scored yesterday when they had a chance to win. They scored. It's just that Fedde and Mikolas both didn't give them a chance to win. Fedde put them down 8-0 by the third inning. Mikolas put them down 7-0 by the third inning. And it's like you're not like this team can fight. This team is fighting them. They're not going to just roll over. But at that point, you're done. It's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, like, you go think back to 2023 again. Like, I think people forget this was a top, like, literally go splits through opening day through the trade deadline 2023, the worst, like the year from hell for the Cardinals. And they had a top 7 offense in almost every statistical category. And the second half, they just imploded. And you can't defend it for a whole half doing it. But also at the same time, it's like when you know you're going to lose a game pretty much every single time, when someone goes to a mound, like it's hard to play offense for that. When you go down 8-0 in the first 3 innings, like I don't blame. Now, we're not defending the Pirates series. Like that was awful. But the Cardinals haven't done that. Like going into that series, like they're in their 9 games above 500 and they're playing well. I'll pull up the stats. It was crazy. Like they were before the coming out of the Cleveland series, the Cardinals have been shut out just 5 times all year. And they shut out their opponents 10 times. So they shut out other teams double the amount of times they've been shut out. I don't know where that ranked in baseball, but the only team who had shut out more teams than them was the Padres at that point. And they had they were tied for the most sweeps in all baseball with their teams. It's like it wasn't like this. This past week has been horrible for the offense, but I also don't think it is a coincidence that it comes at the same time that the rotation's imploding. Right? Like it has a cyclical effect on the rest of the team. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess here's a question I got thrown in the chat too. Like, do you think the NL Central is still winnable for the Cardinals? No. I don't think so either at this point. I think the Cubs have shown they're the better team. I mean, they've shown it all year, but creating more of a gap, and they're gonna actually add the deadline. Like they're not gonna hopefully get Harrison Bader. Like they're gonna go get Sandy Alcantara, or they're gonna go do something real. So.
Which is great. Gut that farm system. Cam Smith has been really good for the Astros, and I can't be happier about that.
Hey, if there's a win from this year, if Kyle Tucker walks, that'd be great. Love to see that.
What if the Cardinals sign Pete Alonso next year?
No way. So apparently Marmalga asked, what's the path forward with Fedde? He said, this is from Jeff Jones on Twitter, I think we have to use tomorrow's off day to take a step back and figure out what that looks like. The reality is he has to find a solution to what's going on and make an adjustment in order to get through the lineup successfully, but continuing to go down this road doesn't seem like it's beneficial at the moment. Okay. So,
Ollie, I will always be on Ollie's side with these things.
That is one. again, we're not in the room, so we don't know if he sits there and advocates for Mikolas or Fedde to be on the roster. But if there's someone to point a finger at, it's the front office with this, because these are the pitchers that he has. I saw someone on Twitter say, like, if Ollie throws Mikolas and Fedde one more time, like, he should lose his job. And I'm like, well, what does he do? Does he start John King?
Yeah, obviously. The number of times I've been
does he just do a bullpen game without asking Mo? He's just like, I'm just not using Mikolas anymore. We're just not pitching.
The number of times I've seen comments on like Instagram or Twitter where it's like, why doesn't Ollie DFA Mikolas? It's like, do you even know what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's not his decision.
This is not how this works.
So
I don't know. This is crazy. Like, Ollie gets too much flack for it. It's not his fault. Like, I saw someone in here saying that Ollie pulled Fedde too early today. And I was like, by the time he pulled Fedde, what was it, like 2-0, 1-0? I think it was 1-0 by the time he pulled Fedde.
Wait, that he pulled him
That's still a winnable
game.
Too late? That he pulled him too early.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially because they
Fedde in there longer. I was like, he already walked 4 batters.
Yeah, I did think
they were loaded.
It's something that I think you could potentially go back and look at, because I was thinking this in the moment. Is would it have been? Well, it sounds like Steven Matz wasn't someone they were going to pitch today. But do you I know it's kind of crazy, but if you're truly saying this is a game that we're like using short leashes and we're trying to win, do you go to JoJo there in the second inning? Because it's a big spot. Like, if you give up,
I mean, you go to runs, which is not the worst idea because of the amount of ground balls he induces. And Kyle Tucker did get a ground ball at less than 95 miles an hour. Yeah, just happened to go up the middle. Like, that's unlucky, but
yeah, that's where I'm not mad at it. Yeah, and actually, like, only giving up 2 runs coming in the bases loaded in the second inning is not a bad scenario. Like, only being down 3-0 after that is not bad. Like, it could have been way worse. I'm just wondering if should Ollie have gone to the best arms right away, trying to keep them in the game to see if the offense could go. I'm saying I wonder. I think you're right. I think King was the right call there, because you would feel like they have an off day tomorrow. So do you feel like that much of an idiot if you throw one of your best arms today to try and keep you in the game early? Like, you'd be an idiot if you do when you're down 8-0, but like when it's a 1-run game, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, once your starter doesn't even give you 2 innings, I don't know what you do for the rest of the game.
Yeah. But I guess, so you can flip it around, though. You can go to JoJo there, and you can go to, like, some of these guys. Like, what if you went, well, Leahy, yeah, I mean, you're right. It's tough. I'm not saying Ollie was in a good spot there. I'm trying to talk it out loud. Like, you can't go to Leahy, really, because you already went to him, and he can't go, not that day, but yesterday. And, like, he can't go multi-innings right now. He's so bad. So, like, who's your multi-inning guys? It's King and Savanson. So, like, do you go to JoJo there hoping you don't give up any, and you're down 1-0, and then you give him another inning potentially, and then you go to O'Brien or something like that to see if you stay in it? Because my argument is that if you do that and you're still in it by the 4th or 5th inning, then you just have to see what happens with King and Savanson at that point. But then if somehow O'Brien got tagged for runs or JoJo did, then you throw those other guys, not caring how long, right? Like, you just get as many innings as you can out of them. So, but again, you're talking about a poop situation here. It's like, what is Ollie supposed to do when his starter is so bad he can't make it out of the second inning? It's like, you're not going to win that game. You're probably not. But it is kind of weird that Grinnell's not back up yet. Could you do Fernandez and Graceffo at this point? I don't know. So, but also, like, I mean, like, Steve, you're right. Leahy
this season, like, I mean, I don't know. Like,
yeah, and like Leahy was used a lot in April, but also like Ryan Helsley wasn't good, and Fernandez wasn't good, and JoJo wasn't what he is right now. So like Leahy was the guy. It was Phil Maton and Leahy. Like, it's just always been a tough spot, this bullpen, man. But, and that's where I think even going into the year where it was like I wanted to believe in this team for the talent, because I did think the young talent could do something. And we've talked about even at this team of like, can they make the playoffs, is like the depth is a real issue that you look across the board. Like, this lineup, I mean, anytime, like, I think people are underselling the loss of Ivan Herrera. Like, he's hit like a top 15 bat in all of baseball. Most teams can't lose a top 15 bat in all of baseball and continue to be a good offense. Now, it's not an excuse. It's just like the Dodgers can do it because they built themselves to do it. And the Mets can kind of weather it. And like the Cardinals offense needed a bat like that. If you lose it, and these, I mean, like, other guys are underperforming. So like they could be better than they are. But then you look at the rotation too, and it's like they don't have like what the Dodgers can do, where they can have a whole IL of pitchers, right? Like the Brewers, they can have guys go on the IL and they've got young arms ready. The Cardinals don't have that. And you look at the bullpen and it's like they have a couple good guys at a time, but they don't have the depth there. And so like a lack of depth has actually hurt them in so many ways because they don't have the flexibility, but they did it to themselves. So
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We can talk positive a little bit. Brendan Donovan got named an All-Star today, which is good.
Gosh, it sucks that we're almost an hour in and didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, more pressing things, I guess. So that's fine. Hopefully,
Hey, sorry, one more negative thing. The Nationals fired their manager and GM today, and the Cardinals play them next. And basically, it feels like every time a manager's fired, a team goes on a mini run. So that's great timing for the Cardinals. So
yeah, whatever, man. We'll see what happens. Nationals are not a good team to take care of business. Take at least 2 of 3 or sweep them. But I think Mikolas is pitching one of those days, so I don't think that's going to happen. So C.J. Abrams and James Wood homers against Mikolas on Thursday, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. These next 2 series are important. Need to at least tread and survive before you get to the All-Star break, and then see what happens after that. But it's not looking good right now.
Yeah. But hey, like you said, Brendan Donovan's an All-Star, friend of the pod. Always thankful for Brendan for jumping on. Hopefully we'll get to have him on again soon, potentially, and appreciate the support on that. Hey, and our friend Trevor Rosenthal is with us in unity of they should have gotten rid of Erick Fedde, so we love that too. But Donnie, it's totally like he's the Cardinals' lone All-Star this year, but he's a deserving All-Star. And it's just awesome to see him getting the recognition he deserves. He's like 20 something, he's 25 or 26% above league average at the plate this year. He's 20 now his career, he's 20% above league average at the plate. He's a utility guy who can play anywhere. He's the kind of player that, like, in the way that Tommy Edman is wanted by contenders, like every team in baseball would love to have Brendan Donovan. Yes, he's not a superstar. The Cardinals need a superstar, but man, it is so good to have someone like Brendan Donovan, and he's a class act, represents the organization well. They need to extend him and keep him around because he's the kind of guy you want helping build this team in the future. And again, he can't be your best player probably to win a World Series. Like, I think we can agree on that, but that doesn't mean we should beat him. It doesn't mean we need to diminish what he's done, right? Like, it's awesome. And so, love this for Brendan Donovan. I mean, we've talked about this before, joked about it, but I think he's going to be a red jacket guy. Like, if you keep him around, like, this is an iconic player that you can have. Again, not iconic. I know, not Musial, not Pujols, all that, but like in the Matt Carpenter vein, which Matt Carpenter, look back, it was an awesome career. So yeah, love what we've seen from Brendan Donovan. So excited for him, and I'm so glad he's going to go to Atlanta. It was cool seeing Ollie congratulate him, and you just tell Donnie's the type of player who doesn't want the attention, right? Like I think they said yesterday after the game when they're packing up the bus to go to the hotel, he was in the cage hitting still, like after the game, like he was already getting more work in. Today, when they announced that he was an All-Star, he was on the field getting work in, and people congratulate him, and Ollie congratulates him, and he just obviously thanks everyone else, and is like, okay, let's move on. Let's try and win this game. Like, he's a pro. Very excited for him.
Yeah, you'll get that photo up with Shohei. And also, Shohei, please start hitting again so PCA is not in this MVP conversation. Please. We all need it.
Yeah. Hey, so a couple of previews of what we got going on this week. So I think we might have another Birds on the Farm episode just to kind of recap the draft preview stuff. And then next
having I guess I don't know. I'll tease it a little bit. We have a video coming.
Oh.
Something's coming. Something big is coming.
Oh, yes. Yes, something big is coming. We have a special episode coming this week. Yes. We'll have another regular Deal on the Cards episode this week. So subscribe, like if you enjoyed the podcast, and like the stream really helps us out a ton, but also subscribe helps us out a ton. But then we'll also have the draft stream next Sunday. So we'll give more details about that soon, but we'll be live streaming throughout the night or for all their picks, the first round pick, the comp picks, and the second round pick. I think it's just 3 picks that we'll get to see that night. So we'll have Kareem obviously on, but also a bunch of different guests that will help us talk through the amazing draft night, which would be fun. And the Cardinals pick at number 5. It could really go multiple directions. So it'd be very interesting. 4 picks that night that they're going to show. Okay. So a lot of content we'll have there. It'll be fun. Join us for that. Jump in and out as you can. It'll be great. And yeah, do you want to real quick give our thoughts on this. Thoughts on the Cardinals being hesitant to move relievers. I think we talked, like I said earlier, like I get it from the stance that it will kill the team, but also it's like the only things that have value. So it kind of sucks you want to trade it. But
I don't know.
so seeing a lot of Jamie Arnold in the chat, Sarah, potentially for
That'd be nice. I'll get a bold prediction. I will actually Sandy's not here, but I will give my bold prediction back to you guys. I was at 1 bold prediction correct. I'm now at 0 bold predictions correct because I said the Cardinals will make a splash at the deadline, and we counted Erick Fedde, and I'm giving that back to you guys. So apologize. I'm like David Freese. I didn't deserve it.
You got to end on that one. That's great.
There you go.
Hey, you guys make this fun. We always really appreciate the streams and you guys tuning in, listening in. Obviously, again, brutal night of Cardinal baseball. Hey, they did salvage a game. It was a really fun Saturday game. So sucks that we didn't really talk about Pozo power. But I don't think the Cardinals are cooked, but clearly there's a lot of problems right now, especially with this rotation. And it's going to be really, again, I think this is a team that can compete down the stretch. But like I've said, I'm skeptical of them making the playoffs because you lack the depth, and I think there's just better teams around you. But we'll see what they do. Maybe they pull a rabbit out of their hat. They've done it before. Can they do it again? I don't know. So appreciate the support as always. Like and subscribe. Again, we'll be back this week for the after National Series. Again, we have a special episode that Andrew's teasing, so that's gonna be really fun. You want to check that out, and then draft stream on Sunday. So we'll see you guys next time.
Peace. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Fedde.